Okay, we're recording, so whenever you guys are ready, you want to come reset your.
All right. Hello, class. My name is Jamal Russell. I'm a senior here at Brown University. My major is HR management. We also have John Hayes, Jack Paul. They both are in business management. They both are seniors as well. And we're going to talk to you today about compensation. Um, so to start off, dollars, euros, pesos, pounds, francs, no matter what you call it, we all need it. We all need money. We all want money. We all want to be compensated. Compensation is the money received from an employer um, as a salary or wage. That's one type of compensation. Others may be vacation time, um, extra breaks, maybe free food on Fridays or something like that. We all strive to get to this point to graduate. Um, we all have the desire to learn, to connect, uh, to network, to make friends, all with one goal in mind, to get to this point to graduate. We all do this so we can have a career. No matter what career we have, we all have one goal: is to make money. Um, no matter what career we have, mine's been HR management. There's been business management. The main goal is to make money. Um, this is one reason why we sacrifice, why we're here today, why we sacrifice our time, our money to be here, is so we can buy fancy houses like these. I know I want one like this. I don't know if I need any of you, but to buy cars, to take care of our family. Um, this right here is Memphis, Tennessee. I actually lived out there for some time. When I first graduated, I actually attended school out there. I was 16. I started my first job. It wasn't a great experience. I actually worked at a wing place. They were just opening up. Um, he promised to pay us every week. I believe back then it was like $8 an hour. Wasn't too much, but when it was time to get paid, I was not paid properly. I had to fight for my check, even when I went to the bank. There was no money for me to cash my check with. Compensation, uh, compensation plays a very important part in what we do in management. Uh, Compensation consists of competitive pay, fairness, commissions, programs. For this, actually worked as a mobile sales manager and mobile sales consultant. Um, we received a base plus commission. Our commission was based off what we sold, pretty much cell phones, products, services, accessories. Um, if we had to perform at our highest to attract people to come buy cell phones. This was at Target Mobile, also called Market Source. I know a lot of people like to shop at Target, but not many people know too much about Target Mobile. But the better you perform, the more you sold, and it was based upon a cash performance. Uh, Compensation comes down to motivation. Uh, there are two types of motivation: extrinsic and intrinsic. Extrinsic are external rewards, such as personal, not personal, but support, social support. This is one factor that affects pay, your skills. No one wants to hire or work with no one that does not know how to complete the job. That's what most employees look for. If you have the skills and ability to complete the everyday tasks. Also experience, the knowledge of how to do it as well, not just the skill set, but have experience doing it for some time. They may pay you more based off how well you know how to do it, how can you handle situations. Like when I sold cell phones, I sold them pretty well. I knew how to sell the attachments, which are the insurance. That's Also, time management and productivity. That's another force that affects pay. We all had jobs where we had to complete something at a certain amount of time. We had a certain amount of time to complete them. How well you do it, how efficient you do it, how productive you are at doing it as well. Also, the cost of living plays a part in how much you are paid. No matter where you were, when I was in Tennessee, the cost of living was a bit less. The housing, the gas, rent, school was a bit less as well. Also, supply and demand. The higher demand for the job is, the more applicants or in less, most cases, you are paid. Uh, Fairness plays a big part in compensation as well. As I told you before, with my experience, I was not paid fairly. This way, the union may come in, they kind of fight to protect, give us a voice, protect our rights, fight for working conditions. And no one wants to work for someone like this. I found this kind of funny. No one wants to work for a boss such as this. Um, that's grouchy, has a bad attitude, or gives orders. And that's just the beginning of compensation. And now for John Hayes to take over.
So I'm John Hayes again. Install my slide comes up. So yeah, I'm John. This guy's name is Frederick Winslow Taylor, and he was one of the first management consultants. He came up with something called systematic soldiering. And systematic soldiering is the process where employees will put in the bare minimum amount of time, work, and effort in order to keep their jobs. An example of that would be workers at the DMV. He also came up with the idea that you can motivate employees to be the most efficient, productive employees possible with financial incentives. So you imagine if workers at the DMV got a cash bonus for every person they process throughout the day or every person you smile at throughout the day, maybe it'd be a better system. This next slide, we're going to have a picture. Some of you guys may have seen this before, but by a show of hands, how many of you see an old woman? No. Okay. How many see a young woman? Okay. So what Taylor forgot to account for is something called the law of individual differences. And what the law of individual differences means, everybody's different. So everyone has different goals, different desires, different skills, different experiences, different abilities. Everybody's different. Compensation is really motivation. So I may get motivated to go to work because I like money. Lamar may be motivated because he takes pride in his job. Maybe he's doing something good in the world. Jack over here may be an egotistical kind of prick who likes power. Everyone has different motivation. There's two main types of motivation. You have intrinsic motivation, which covers your intangible types of compensation, and you have extrinsic motivation, which primarily covers cash compensation. Cash compensation is the most popular type of compensation. So cash compensation includes salary, hourly pay, commissions, and bonuses. Those are your top four that most people probably have some kind of experience with. The most common type of compensation is hourly compensation. I'm sure most of us have experience with that. And it's the most common because it's straightforward and it's easy. You get a rate per hour, and whatever number of hours you work per week, that's what you get paid for the week. The next most common type of compensation is salary compensation. Salary compensation is based on usually 40 hours per week or 2,080 hours per year. It's generally for management level employees or higher, and no matter how many hours per week you work, you're going to have the same consistent paycheck week in, week out. So you maybe ask yourself what's better, hourly pay or salary pay? That's entirely dependent on you as a worker, as well as the organization that you work for. Let's pretend, for example, you're a police officer and you work 30 hours of overtime per week. you're gonna make a lot more money staying an hourly employee as opposed to a salaried employee. Awkward silence is part of the presentation. Commissions are also a type of compensation, cash compensation. Commissions are usually reserved for salesmen. So you could be a stockbroker, you could be a real estate agent, you could be just a regular salesman. Commissions are a percentage of either a sale you make, revenue you generate, or a contract you negotiate. Commissions can be extremely inconsistent, though. You can go months without receiving a paycheck. Bonus compensation is another form of cash compensation, and bonuses can be paid out, signing bonus, retention bonus, a performance bonus. It's anything above your normal base salary. You can be paid cash, stock, or some combination of the two. So now we're going to talk about the intrinsic motivations or the intangible types of compensation. And these include things such as job fulfillment, job satisfaction, how meaningful your job is, power, and one other, employee-employer relationships. So by show of hands, how many people like puppies? Right?
Many people like puppies.
So let's pretend for a second that your job was to be a professional puppy player with person, and all you had to do was play with puppies all day. You would probably have a really high level of job satisfaction. Job satisfaction is something that it's an intangible type of compensation. It's an intrinsic motivator. It doesn't show up on your pay stub, but it's still important, very important. Maybe you have a very meaningful job. Maybe you're a researcher discovering the next cure for cancer. You're a therapist working with veterans that have PTSD. You're contributing to the greater good. You're doing something good for society. How meaningful your job is again, an intangible type of compensation, intrinsic motivator, and still very important. So your employee-employer relationship. Does your employer value you as an employer or as an employee, not just professionally, but personally? Do they care about you psychologically? Do they care about does your boss even know your name? All of these are important for your well-being, your psychological health. Job security is another important intangible type of compensation. If you showed up to work every day worried that you were going to get laid off or fired, or your company was going to file for bankruptcy, that stress or lack of stress is extremely important to your mental well-being as well. Yet it doesn't show up on your pay stubs, but it's an important type of intangible compensation. Lastly, power. You always hear the argument, power, money or power. An example would be a politician. They don't do it for out of the goodness of their hearts, and they don't do it for money. These people thrive on power. Power is a type of intangible compensation as well. So I'm a couple years older than most of you guys. I come from the corporate world. I've been paid hourly, I've been salaried, I've received commissions, and I've received bonuses. No matter how much money I made, I was never happy. I hated my job, I hated the people I worked with, and I hated the people I worked for. At a certain point, I kind of had an epiphany and completely redefined what I valued and what I wanted out of a job. It shifted from having as much money as I can and having nice things to really being happy and satisfied with my job. I realized that a little bit too late, but I kind of shifted gears at this point and made a career change. But the one thing I'll end my presentation on is remember this one thing as you guys enter the workforce. Do not confuse wealth and status with happiness. Go find something that you truly are passionate about and that you love to do. Compensation is a lot more than the money aspect of compensation.
All right, so payday, a day that everyone always looks forward to. And the best part about it is you get money, no one can tell you how to spend it, what to do with it, you can do whatever you want. But as you go through the working world, you have many different jobs, and how do you know if you're getting paid enough? And as the slide says, competitive pay is more important now than ever. And that's because there's a lot of people in the working world, and companies need to pay their employees properly, because if they don't, then no one's gonna work. And there's many different methods, but I'm gonna go over 3 different methods that employers use to determine pay for their employees. First one is job analysis. This is very basic, it's used fairly often. And this is where you take the job description of a certain position and compare it with a similar, if not the same job description at a different job, and see what they're paying that employee in that position, and then you kind of make your rate accordingly. Another method is like an internal kind of method. This is where the company evaluates the importance of the position, and from there they determine the pay. So this could also have some negative side effects though, because people can feel like they're not getting paid enough, they should be paid more, and that kind of leads to like the company doesn't value my job and what I do. And then the third method that I'm going to talk about is the point factor evaluation method, and this is where a company will look at, they'll set certain benchmark kind of thing, like skills required, effort, responsibility, and work conditions, and they'll rate it on a point system. The more points you have at the end of the day, the higher the pay. And you have Tompkins County in New York, they mainly use the point factor method, and they'll go off of some of their like benchmark kind of things, or like knowledge, autonomy, interpersonal skills, stuff like that, and that's how they'll rate their employees from there to determine what the pay is. But as we all know, there's always going to be a difference in pay, and right now we have the gender pay gap. This is where a female would earn 79 cents for every dollar that a male earns, and although they're doing the same work, they're getting the less pay. Obviously, this is an issue, and it can cause a lot of problems within the company. But this is not always true. For example, you have young women that don't have any children, generally out earn their male counterparts. This is because women recently women have a higher education than men, but this tends to take a shift when women start to have families and have to take time off for their children. And there's also the EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and they're responsible for pay discrimination. And in 1963, they enacted the Equal Pay Act, and this is where they actually enforce for a male and female working in the same position in the same company have to make the same amount of money, although that's still an issue. And I had a job where I worked there for a couple of years, and people came in after me without any more credentials or more experience, and they started at a higher rate than I was making already. And I've been there for a couple of years, which obviously led to some internal issues. This led in the late 1920s to the formation of unions, and in 1935 there was the Wagner Act was in place, and this helped make working conditions better, help make pay more equal amongst everyone. And for those who don't know, union is when a bunch of like employees will come together and they'll have a better say, a better voice to try and increase their compensation, increase pay, get better benefits. Because if you're speaking by yourself, your voice would just kind of be like hushed, pushed off to the side. But if you're together as a group, it's louder, more people listen to you. In the late 1940s, 9 million people were a part of the union, and because of this, they came in with the Taft-Hartley Act, and with this said that employers can voice their opinion on unions, whether it's good or bad, but they cannot stop the employees from unionizing. IBEW 98, this International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, this is a union in the city of Philadelphia. They do electrical work. In the city, generally, if you're a union, you'll make more money with better benefits generally than a non-union electrician. I have personal experience with Local 98 as I worked for them over the summer, but I've also worked for Carr and Duff, worked like electrical contractor, where we work with both Local 98 and Local 126, which are both electrical unions. And by working with them in my first-hand experience, I've also worked non-union. When I work non-union, you see people have an issue with the way they're being compensated, with the pay they're getting, benefits, stuff like that. And when they try and speak up about it, they're not really heard. And when I went to Carr and Duff, everyone seemed to be much more happy with the job, higher job satisfaction, and they feel like they also have a say in what happens to them, whether it's their pay, their benefits, and everything like that. So just to review what I went over, there's many different types of determining pay for a certain position, but we went over job analysis, the value to the job within the company, and the point factor method. And then also, there's a gender pay gap, and there's always going to be wage gaps, but there's something that we need to do to stop that. Then just to review over what Lamar said, he went over the basic concepts of compensation, how money is a big motivator in the working world, and also many factors that play into compensation, such as your cost of living and stuff like that. And John we went over hourly or salary, bonuses, commission, but then he also brought up the fact that compensation also equals motivation, that there's intrinsic and extrinsic motivating factors and how they both go hand in hand and both very important in the world. Lastly, I just wanted to wrap up saying that we're all going to be in the working world, and compensation is going to be important throughout all of our careers, and something we all need to pay close attention to, because who wants to work harder and not get rewarded for it? So hopefully you guys learned a little bit about compensation, and thank you. Can we stop that?